When the noise of the world grows louder and every voice seems to demand to be heard, that is when the wise fall silent. Silence is not weakness. It is not emptiness. It is power, pure, unshakable, invisible power. It is the weapon of kings, the armor of the self-mastered, and the language of those who walk with divine purpose. While others are busy explaining, justifying, and boasting, you will be creating, building, and becoming. Let them talk, you will act. Let them seek attention, you will seek mastery. Because every word you do not waste becomes energy saved for your next victory. There is a kind of power that only reveals itself when you no longer need to prove who you are. When you stop reacting to every insult, every doubt, every whisper of criticism, that is when your spirit begins to rise above the noise. Detachment is not indifference, it is inner control. It is the quiet realization that your peace is worth more than anyone's opinion. When you learn to be still in the storm itself begins to lose its power over you. The man who cannot be moved emotionally cannot be manipulated spiritually. The world will try to provoke you into speaking, into defending, into revealing your plans. Resist the temptation. Power is lost in the tongue of impatience. The more you reveal, the less you retain. Those who are destined for greatness move in silence because they understand that every seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface. The chatter of the world cannot compete with the quiet of a focused mind. The moment you begin to operate in silence, you align yourself with divine order. Your thoughts become clear. Your path becomes straight. You begin to feel a strength that words could never describe. Learn to keep your emotions sacred. Do not waste them on temporary people or fleeting circumstances. Every reaction drains you. Every silence strengthens you. Your silence confuses those who expect you to explain. It intimidates those who expect you to fight. It humbles those who expect you to respond. Because silence is not the absence of response, it is the presence of mastery. You are not running from battle, you are rising above it. When you speak only when necessary, every word you choose becomes a command, not a complaint. To live with purpose is to understand that not every truth deserves an audience. There are sacred visions meant only for your inner circle or for your own heart. Speak less of what you are doing and do more of what you were born to do. The universe does not bless noise. It blesses alignment. When you quiet your outer voice, your inner voice becomes divine guidance. You begin to hear what you could not hear before. Intuition, inspiration, revelation. That is the sound of power awakening within you. The wise do not announce their progress. They allow results to speak. Every silent hour of labor builds a wall of greatness that no critic can tear down. The louder the doubters become, the quieter you should grow. Noise fades. Results remain. When you detach from the need to be seen, heard, or approved, you enter a realm of freedom that few ever discover. You no longer chase recognition. You become it. You no longer seek validation. You embody it. You no longer argue for your worth. You live it. Remember this, silence is not empty. It is filled with the voice of purpose. Every moment you choose to stay quiet when chaos calls for reaction, you are declaring your dominion over self. You are saying, I am not moved by the temporary, for I serve the eternal. The power to stay silent, to detach emotionally, to observe rather than react, that is the mark of true confidence. It is the difference between those who are controlled by life and those who command it. There will come a time when your silence will make more noise than your words ever could, when your presence will speak louder than your explanations, when your results will silence every doubt, every critic, every whisper. So stay silent, stay steady, stay sovereign, because in the end, the loudest voice in the room is not the one that speaks, it is the one that acts. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of strength. It is the divine space between thought and action where clarity is born. The world has trained you to speak, to argue, to prove, to respond, but greatness begins when you unlearn the need to explain yourself. Power does not shout, it hums quietly beneath the surface of self-control. The one who can remain silent in the face of provocation, who can stand calm while others crumble, possesses a strength that words cannot define. Every time you hold your tongue when your ego wants to speak, you are winning an invisible battle. You are mastering not the world but yourself, and the one who masters himself eventually commands everything around him. Silence is your fortress, and in that fortress you build your dominion. It is where your thoughts align with divine order, where you find the truth uncorrupted by emotion, fear, or doubt. The wise do not fear silence. They enter it with reverence. In it, they meet themselves, they meet the source of all intelligence that flows from the unseen. When you withdraw from the noise of the world, you begin to hear something far more powerful, the voice of your purpose. That voice does not scream, it whispers, and only the one who has learned to be still can hear it. Most people talk to escape themselves. They fill the air with noise because they cannot bear to face the silence that reveals who they truly are. But the man or woman who can sit alone in silence, without distraction, without validation, without applause, that person is unshakable. Silence exposes truth. It shows you where your fears hide and where your faith stands. It reveals your wounds, your patterns, your unhealed parts. That is why the weak avoid it and the strong seek it. In stillness, you cannot lie to yourself. You can only evolve. Silence is also the mark of emotional detachment, the sign of someone who has learned that reaction is weakness and composure is power. When you no longer react to insult or opinion, when you no longer chase approval or recognition, you ascend into a state of divine authority. You are no longer moved by the world begins to move around you. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is mastery. It is knowing what deserves your energy and what does not. It is the understanding that your peace is sacred, your energy is gold, and not everyone earns the right to have access to it. The one who controls his words controls his destiny. Words are energy, and energy directed without purpose is chaos. The tongue can create or destroy, elevate or imprison. When you speak unnecessarily, you disperse your energy. When you hold your silence, you conserve it, and what is conserved becomes concentrated power. Every great leader, every visionary, every enlightened soul understood this. The less you speak, the more the universe listens. When your speech becomes rare, your words become sacred. Silence also protects your vision. The moment you speak of your plans to those who cannot understand them, you invite doubt, jealousy, and distraction. A seed grows underground in silence before it ever reaches the light. If it were to break the soil too soon, it would die. The same law applies to your dreams. Keep them covered until they are strong enough to stand on their own. The world celebrates results, not intentions. So let your success announce what your silence prepared. When you become silent, you also begin to sense the divine rhythm of life. You begin to see how everything works in perfect order, how every event, every delay, every rejection is guiding you towards something greater. In that awareness, you stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing validation. You detach from expectation and flow with faith. You begin to trust that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and what misses you was never meant to stay. Silence teaches you this, not through explanation, but through experience. The loud seek attention. The wise seek alignment. Attention feeds the ego, but alignment feeds the soul. When you are aligned, you no longer need to speak loudly, because your energy speaks first. People feel your presence before they hear your words. They recognize something divine in your calm, something magnetic in your restraint. True influence is silent. It moves hearts without argument. It changes minds without force. Every time you hold silence in moments when the world expects noise, you are displaying divine confidence. You are saying, I am not here to prove. I am here to become. You are showing that your self-worth is not dependent on being understood. You have detached from the opinions of men to align with the will of purpose. That kind of power cannot be faked. It radiates, it transforms, it commands without speaking. To operate in silence does not mean you stop communicating. It means you communicate intentionally. It means your words become instruments of creation, not reaction. It means your speech carries weight because it is backed by discipline. Your silence becomes your signature, your mystery, your strength. The more you learn to hold it, the more your energy refines, your focus sharpens, and your results amplify. There will be moments when people mistake your silence for weakness, your calm for indifference, your detachment for pride. Do not defend it. Those who do not understand silence have not yet learned power. You are not here to convince them. You are here to build. And every time you choose not to explain yourself, you save energy for your mission. You are no longer a prisoner of reaction. You are a commander of creation. The moment you stop explaining, you begin manifesting. Understand this eternal truth. The greatest transformations happen in quiet. The seed becomes the tree in silence. The sun rises each morning without announcement. The ocean moves with unimaginable force, yet it makes no boast of its power. Creation itself whispers. The universe does not shout its greatness, yet it commands awe. So why should you? You too are part of that divine rhythm, born not to make noise, but to make impact. Silence is the sanctuary where power regenerates, purpose strengthens, and wisdom awakens. When you learn to embrace it, you will find that you no longer need to chase anything. Opportunities begin to find you. Peace begins to follow you. Confidence becomes your nature. You stop explaining and start embodying. You stop reacting and start ruling. You stop seeking approval and start living in truth. The one who speaks less and does more does not need recognition because he has become the evidence of his own mastery. And when the world finally sees what you have built in silence, they will realize that the quietest person in the room was the one who held all the power. There is a divine strength that begins to awaken the moment you choose silence over reaction. Every reaction you give to things that do not matter weakens your spirit. Every silence you hold in the presence of chaos strengthens it. You cannot control the world, but you can control your response to it. And in that control lies your freedom. The person who has mastered the art of silence has conquered half of life already. For silence is the bridge between the human and the divine. It connects your mortal effort to immortal wisdom. When you stop speaking unnecessarily, you create space for revelation. When you stop reacting impulsively, you open the door to guidance, and in that space you become something rare, an individual who no longer moves by emotion, but by vision. The world today celebrates noise. People confuse loudness with influence and chaos with confidence. Yet true power has never announced itself with a shout. The most powerful forces of nature move silently. The earth rotates without noise. The moon governs tides without a single sound. The heart beats, the lungs expand, and life continues, all in silence. Power doesn't demand to be noticed, it simply is. When you understand that, you stop wasting your energy trying to prove what you already know. You become comfortable in stillness because you have found something greater than attention. You have found alignment. The silent person holds an advantage that talkers never do: observation. When you are quiet, you see what others miss. You notice patterns, emotions, intentions. You become aware of timing, of energy, of opportunity. You can sense when to move and when to wait. The one who speaks less learns more. And the one who listens deeply begins to hear what life itself is saying. Noise distracts the masses, but silence directs the masters. Your silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. It is the moment before the divine whisper becomes an instruction. It is the waiting before the great leap forward. The universe rewards those who do not rush. When you practice silence, you are saying, I trust the timing of my purpose. And that trust changes everything. You no longer beg for opportunities, you build yourself until opportunities beg for you. You no longer seek attention, your excellence draws it naturally. Silence sharpens you in ways that noise never could. It builds unseen momentum that erupts as undeniable results. The reason most people fail to achieve greatness is that they reveal too much too soon. They speak before they act, share before they create, and expose what should remain hidden. Energy leaks through speech. Every time you talk about what you will do, you give away some of the force needed to actually do it. Keep your intentions sacred. Keep your plans hidden in your heart until they are ready to manifest. When you keep your focus private, your energy multiplies. When you announce it prematurely, it diffuses. Speak less, act more. That is how you shift from dreaming to doing. In silence, you also develop emotional clarity. You begin to understand that most conflicts are not worth your peace. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every challenge deserves your time. The one who can walk away without reacting demonstrates the highest form of power. Silence becomes your statement. It says, I am not moved by what is temporary. I serve something eternal. You stop defending yourself because you know truth does not need defense. You stop explaining yourself because you understand that real value speaks through action, not argument. When you learn to detach from your emotions, you do not become cold, you become composed. Detachment is the art of remaining still while the world spins around you. It is the awareness that everything external is temporary and that the only real power lies within. When you reach this level, words lose their grip on you. Insults slide off you. Praise no longer intoxicates you. You remain centered in who you are, unmoved by the tides of approval or rejection. That is what it means to be spiritually free. Your silence also begins to create mystery, and mystery creates influence. People become curious about what you're thinking, what you're planning, who you're becoming. That curiosity gives you control. The loud are predictable, but the silent are powerful. They move unseen, they strike with precision, and they win without warning. The less you speak, the more unpredictable you become, and the more the world must adjust to your rhythm instead of you adjusting to theirs. Silence is discipline. It is the mastery of the mouth, the mind, and the emotion. It requires strength to say nothing when your pride wants to speak. It requires faith to act without announcing. It requires patience to wait without explanation. But those who practice it transform into a different kind of being, a being whose presence commands respect without a single word. This is why the great ones throughout history spoke with simplicity yet moved nations. Their silence was as powerful as their speech because it came from mastery, not insecurity. There will be seasons in your journey when silence feels like loneliness, but it is not. It is protection. The universe hides you while you are being refined. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared. You are being stripped of distractions, doubts, and dependencies, so that when your time comes, nothing external can shake you. Learn to love that isolation. It is in that sacred solitude that vision is born, faith is strengthened, and destiny is revealed. When you practice silence, you begin to realize that words are not the only form of communication. Your energy speaks louder, your discipline speaks louder, your consistency, your calmness, your results. These become your language, and they are understood universally. The person who has found silence speaks to the world without ever opening his mouth. That is influence on a divine level. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop trying to be heard and start trying to understand. You begin to sense the flow of life, the subtle movement of opportunities, and the whispers of your own intuition. You realize that everything is connected and that your silence is not passive. It is participation with the divine rhythm. You begin to create not from chaos, but from alignment, and everything you touch begins to carry a sense of purpose, calm, and power. So, when the noise of the world grows unbearable, when every voice around you demands your attention, remember that you have a choice. You can join the noise and lose yourself in confusion, or you can step into silence and find your truth. The former drains you, the latter transforms you. The person who has found peace in silence has found everything. To speak less is to hear more. To hear more is to understand deeper. And to understand deeper is to move wiser. That is how quiet minds conquer loud worlds. The silent one may not look powerful, but his restraint hides something divine, a certainty, a calm, an unshakable confidence that needs no validation. The world may underestimate him for a season, but in the end, it is always the silent one who rises. Because while others were talking, he was transforming. While others were seeking approval, he was becoming unbreakable. And when the noise fades, the silent one stands alone, glowing with the quiet fire of mastery, knowing that everything changes the moment you realize silence was never weakness. It was power all along. Power lives in the unseen. in the moments you do not speak, in the thoughts you choose not to reveal, in the emotions you refuse to display. The person who has learned to contain his energy has learned to govern his destiny. Silence is the highest expression of self-mastery because it proves that you are no longer controlled by impulse, fear, or ego. When you no longer feel the need to respond to everything, you begin to understand that not every battle deserves your sword. Some victories come not from confrontation, but from restraint. Silence is not passive, it is strategic. It is the decision to protect your power until it can be used for something meaningful. Every word you speak has energy, and every unnecessary word is a leak in your spiritual reservoir. Most people waste their energy explaining, defending, and reacting to things that do not move them closer to their purpose. The wise learn to guard their energy the way a king guards his crown. They understand that silence keeps power concentrated, and what is concentrated becomes unstoppable. This is why the most powerful individuals throughout history rarely spoke unless necessary. Their silence carried more meaning than another's speech. Their restraint was their advantage. The world has conditioned you to believe that to be seen, you must be loud. To be respected, you must argue. To be understood, you must explain. But true influence is not earned through noise. It is earned through alignment, discipline, and stillness. The man who walks with purpose does not need to shout. His focus speaks for him. His energy introduces him before his words ever do. He knows that every time he stays silent when provoked, he gains strength. Every time he resists the urge to prove himself, he grows in self-command. And every time he acts without announcing, he steps closer to his destiny. You must understand that silence is not a void, it is a vessel. It holds your dreams, your plans, your faith, your divine connection. When you operate in silence, you protect that vessel from contamination. The moment you reveal your intentions to those who cannot comprehend your vision, you allow their doubt to enter your energy field. You cannot expect your dreams to thrive in the presence of disbelief. Protect your silence like sacred ground. Speak your plans only to those who can water them with belief, not drown them in doubt. Silence is also a mirror that reflects the truth of your inner world. When you are quiet, you meet the parts of yourself you often ignore. You see your fears without distraction, your desires without disguise, your weaknesses without defense. It is in silence that transformation begins because it is the only space where you cannot hide from yourself. It humbles you, heals you, and prepares you for the strength that lies ahead. Many fear silence because they fear the truth it reveals, but those who embrace it emerge refined, clear, focused, and powerful beyond measure. There is great spiritual intelligence in silence. The universe itself was created from it. Before there was sound, there was intention. Before the word was spoken, there was stillness. You must learn to return to that stillness within you, the source from which all creation flows. When you quiet the external noise and silence the internal chaos, you begin to hear the divine whisper of direction. It is soft but sure. It tells you when to act, when to wait, and when to let go. The ones who live in constant noise miss that whisper and wander aimlessly through life. But those who master silence become guided by something far greater than logic. They move with divine precision. Emotional detachment is the companion of silence. Together, they form the armor of the enlightened. When you are detached, you are free. You no longer depend on external validation to feel whole. You no longer crumble when misunderstood. You no longer chase outcomes, you attract them. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you care from a higher state of awareness. It means you see everything for what it is, not what your emotions want it to be. You remain unmoved because you have learned that nothing external can disrupt what is eternal within you. Your silence and detachment will confuse people. They will call you cold, distant, arrogant. Let them. Their misunderstanding is proof of your elevation. You have outgrown the need to be understood by those still enslaved by noise. You are not ignoring them. You are prioritizing your peace. You are not disconnected. You are deeply connected to something greater, your mission, your calling, your inner truth. The world rewards the talkers temporarily, but it bows to the doers eternally. Speak less, build more. Let your results make the noise that your words never needed to. Every moment of silence is an investment in your future. Every second you choose to remain composed instead of reactive adds another layer of strength to your foundation. The one who is silent today will be the one who commands tomorrow. People will wonder how you did it, how you rose, how you succeeded. They will not realize that your silence was your strategy. You built when they bragged. You listened when they shouted. You moved when they hesitated. That is the secret of the silent achiever. They win while others are distracted. Silence sharpens your intuition. It makes you sensitive to energy, to truth, to direction. You begin to feel when something aligns with your purpose and when it does not. You start recognizing people not by their words, but by their frequency. You sense their intentions without them speaking. This ability is not mystical. It is the natural result of a quiet mind. When you stop letting the world's noise dictate your thoughts, your inner voice becomes clear. That voice will never lead you wrong, but it can only be heard when you are still enough to listen. The power of silence extends beyond your personal life. It transforms your relationships, your work, your purpose. You begin to understand that words do not build trust. Consistency does. Promises do not prove loyalty. Presence does. Arguments do not change hearts. Understanding does. Silence teaches you to act from wisdom instead of emotion, to respond from truth instead of impulse. And when you live that way, your influence becomes magnetic, effortless, divine. There will be moments when your silence feels misunderstood, when people mistake it for weakness. Let them. You owe no explanations to those who cannot see your vision. Silence is not about others. It is about your alignment with self. The tree does not explain its roots. The sun does not justify its light. You too must stop defending your purpose. Let your work, your transformation, and your peace speak for you. The world may not notice your silence today, but one day it will stand in awe of what you built within it. Silence is the language of the awakened. It is the breath between thought and action, between chaos and clarity, between who you were and who you are becoming. The moment you embrace it fully, you stop seeking to control life and begin to cooperate with it. You start moving with the rhythm of divine timing. You speak when necessary, you act when inspired, and you rest when guided. This is the secret of all who rise to greatness. They understand that real power is not in being heard, but in being guided. So hold your silence close. Guard it like treasure. For within it lies every answer you've been seeking, every idea waiting to be born, every strength waiting to awaken. Do not waste it on noise. Do not trade it for validation. The one who learns to stay silent in a loud world becomes untouchable, for while others are drowning in distraction, you are rising in direction. And that is how you win, not with words, not with noise, but with the divine power of silence. There comes a time in every person's journey when they must choose between noise and purpose, between reaction and realization, between proving their worth and becoming it. That is the moment when silence becomes sacred. The world will not understand it at first. It will question why you have become quiet, why you no longer rush to speak, why you no longer explain, justify, or debate, but you will know. You will feel the shift inside you, the transformation that happens when your energy no longer leaks through words. You will begin to sense that silence is not the absence of power, it is the concentration of it. It is the stillness before the storm, the calm before the creation, the breath before destiny reveals itself. Silence is not for the faint-hearted. It requires strength to remain calm in the face of provocation, to hold your peace when the world demands a reaction, but that strength becomes your shield. When you are silent, you cannot be read, manipulated, or diminished. You become unpredictable. Your composure becomes your mystery, and your restraint becomes your greatest defense. You start to realize that the one who controls his tongue controls his life, and the one who controls his emotions commands his universe. Silence is emotional sovereignty in action. It is the proof that you have risen above the temporary chaos of men to dwell in the eternal order of purpose. In silence, you begin to sense what noise always concealed. You start to see the patterns of life with greater clarity. You notice that every disappointment had a lesson, every rejection carried redirection, every delay hid divine protection. This awareness cannot be found in words. It is discovered in stillness. You begin to trust that everything is happening for you, not against you, and that realization changes the entire rhythm of your existence. You stop fighting against the current and start flowing with it. You stop chasing what is fleeting and begin attracting what is meant. Silence becomes your teacher, your compass, your sanctuary. The wise have always known this. The louder the crowd, the quieter the master. Greatness does not announce itself. It builds itself silently, consistently, faithfully. The architect of destiny does not reveal the blueprint to those who cannot comprehend its design. You must learn to work in private, to create in quiet, to prepare in peace. Speak less about what you will do. Let your results reveal what you have done. Your silence should not be mistaken for inaction. It is preparation. And when your time comes, the world will witness what silence created behind the scenes. But there is more to silence than strategy. There is spirit. Silence is the meeting point between the human mind and divine intelligence. It is where revelation flows. When you stop talking, you start hearing. You hear the subtle guidance that noise always drowns out. You begin to feel the direction of purpose moving through you. This is why silence is holy. It connects you to something far greater than intellect. It aligns you with intuition, with truth, with the unseen rhythm that governs everything. You stop trying to control and start allowing. You stop seeking and start receiving. That is when creation becomes effortless, because you are no longer forcing it, you are flowing with it. To master silence is to master creation itself. It means you no longer waste words on doubt. You no longer speak against yourself. You no longer give life to fear through your tongue. Every word becomes intentional. Every silence becomes prayer. Every thought becomes prophecy. You move differently. You begin to sense that you are no longer operating merely as flesh and mind. You are channeling something divine. Your stillness becomes your connection to that power, and your restraint keeps it pure. The person who has mastered silence carries a presence that cannot be ignored. They do not need to raise their voice to command attention. Their calm becomes magnetic. Their focus radiates authority. Their peace disarms chaos. People feel their strength without needing to hear it. That is the secret of silent power. It transcends speech. It is not seen in the movement of the mouth, but in the certainty of spirit. The one who has found peace in silence becomes untouchable, because no external noise can disturb their inner harmony. This form of silence does not mean withdrawal from life. It means engagement from a higher dimension. You are still active, still creating, still leading, but you are no longer reactive. You no longer give your energy to gossip, to arguments, to distractions. You conserve it for what truly matters. You build when others talk. You move when others debate. You grow when others explain. You become what they are still trying to describe. That is the quiet revolution of mastery. As you walk this path, there will be moments of solitude. You may feel misunderstood, even unseen. But remember, seeds grow in darkness before they rise to light. The silence you endure today is the soil of your transformation. Stay there. Do not rush the process. The world celebrates noise because it cannot comprehend the quiet work of becoming. But when your roots are deep enough, your rise will be unstoppable. You will not need to announce it. The universe will. When you operate in silence, you also learn to see through illusion. You begin to recognize the difference between appearance and essence. Many speak of confidence, but few embody it. Many project strength, but few possess it. True confidence is quiet because it does not need recognition. True power is still because it is grounded in truth. The one who knows does not need to convince. The one who is aligned does not need to argue. When you reach this understanding, you no longer participate in the noise of competition. You have transcended it. You are no longer chasing, you are creating. The silent individual is not void of passion, they have refined it. Their fire burns inward, not outward. It fuels purpose rather than pride. It builds empires rather than arguments. It changes worlds rather than wins debates. The silent one is a force of nature because they operate from source, not from ego. They no longer speak to be heard, they act to be felt, and their actions echo louder than words ever could. When you learn to walk in silence, you stop trying to prove your worthiness. You realize that existence itself is proof of divine purpose. You are here because creation willed it so. You do not need to shout your value, you need only live it. Every act of restraint becomes a declaration that you have already won the war within. Every quiet decision to stay calm becomes a statement that you have nothing left to prove. You have stepped into mastery, the highest state of being. The truth is, everything in life has a vibration. Noise vibrates fast and burns out quickly. Silence vibrates deep and endures. The energy of noise rises and falls with emotion, but the energy of silence flows steadily with power. That is why silence sustains what noise destroys. The greatest transformations happen in that deep vibration of stillness where divine order rearranges your reality from the inside out. The more silent you become, the more aligned you get. The more aligned you get, the more effortlessly you attract what once seemed impossible. So hold your silence like sacred fire. Guard it with reverence. Let it become your foundation, your rhythm, your protection. Speak when your words build. Move when your actions matter. Listen when the divine whispers. For the one who has mastered silence has already mastered destiny. They do not need to chase success, for success moves toward them. They do not need to explain their light, for their presence illuminates naturally. In a world addicted to noise, your silence will be your distinction, your clarity, your crown. It is not weakness, it is power in its purest form, silent, steady, sovereign. Silence is the summit of mastery, the space where power refines itself and purpose finds its true direction. When you choose silence over reaction, stillness over chaos, discipline over display, you step into divine alignment. You begin to move with unseen strength, guided by clarity instead of noise, conviction instead of emotion. In that silence, you discover that you never needed to prove anything to anyone. You only needed to remember who you are. The quiet one who listens, observes, and acts with precision becomes unstoppable. For while others speak of power, the silent one embodies it. True victory does not announce itself, it radiates. And the moment you embrace silence as your greatest ally, you stop chasing success and begin to attract it effortlessly, because the world always bows to those who have mastered themselves first.